We are almost halfway through this election, and to this point, we've seen a great deal of cross-party endorsements, especially in recent days. Murray Rankin, British Columbia's former NDP Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, has endorsed a Liberal candidate in Vancouver. A second lifelong New Democrat, Shannon Phillips, has endorsed the Liberal candidate in her former riding of Lethbridge. And in Quebec, former Liberal Justice Minister Irwin Cotler has voiced his support over social media for a Bloc Québécois party member. Françoise, I want to talk about this. Mostly I want to focus on what's happening with the NDP because party status is on the line for them. And they've got, well-known New Democrats out there saying you should vote Liberal in these areas where the NDP are trying to compete. I mean, where do you think the New Democrats are at the midway point right now?
It pours, it's quite something right now. On one way, we wanted Jagmeet Singh to stop claiming that he was vying for the prime minister job. Now he has to go back to the day-to-day subject that resonate with people, but people are not necessarily listening. So basically what he needs is a good how could I say, a boost of energy, maybe by the Conservatives. Maybe Pierre Poilievre should, instead of sometimes in his rally, talking about Liberal NDP ruining the whole country for the last 10 years, maybe be a bit more nice on the principle NDP way of thinking, because that's the sole message that is left. I hear Alexandre Boulris in Quebec saying with Ruth-Hélène Brosseau, who's coming back in her old riding, competing over there, that you need some of these guys with a conscience that might just say, hey, politics is more than just one issue. There's lots to be done, but it's quite the combat. It's not easy. Right. You don't know. Maybe the debate next week will be a good time for Jagmeet Singh to look like he can play in between those two guys, Poilievre and Carney. But I don't think that for people that will make much of a difference. So they should work maybe a bit more on the ridings that they need to win. He needs to win his own riding. Already his job will be in jeopardy at the end of that campaign. Imagine if he loses his riding at the top, and a few others, that it would be indecent if the NDP didn't win those ridings. So they have to fight like hell, like there's no tomorrow. But it's not easy, and maybe he should stop crisscrossing the country, because there's no point, in my opinion. And if Irwin Cotler had backed somebody from the Bloc Québécois in my days as a Liberal, I would be so furious.
Well, yeah, there's some Liberals kind of raising some eyebrows on that. But, Emily, I mean, Jagmeet Singh's kind of got to travel the country, at least in the early stages. He's got MPs, in the prairies, in BC, and Ontario, and Quebec, up north. But increasingly, like southwestern Ontario, with the auto sector in shock, is going to be tough for him. And right now, it looks like party status is on the line. What are your thoughts on where the NDP is right now?
The NDP needs to save just as many MPs as possible. I noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, that Jagmeet Singh has been tuning down the "I'm running to be your prime minister" language, and really focusing on we need NDP MPs, period. I think so. It's an indication that the NDP is realizing the gravity of the situation. I think that there's a potential, maybe, but that's maybe their last chance of an upset during a debate, because nobody's going to be attacking them. I think it would be very unwise for people to spend time attacking the NDP at this point. And so it gives Jagmeet an opportunity to remind people of why the NDP is there, and also perhaps have some shots at Mark Carney, who's not necessarily as comfortable as a politician. He's new in that sort of job. And so I think, to me, there's two things the NDP needs to do: is really focus their energy, their volunteers and campaigning on the few ridings in which they are actually, if people are angry at not necessarily angry, but scared of the Conservatives, where the NDP is the option against the Conservatives rather than trying to run against the Liberals. And then also really focus on that debate performance in both languages so that people understand that the NDP has relevance
Right.
in Parliament. And that's really is what it is at this point. It's the issue of reminding people of why you're relevant, because it's the trick when you're doing work with an agreement with the Liberals, that the Liberals take credit for some of the things you've been helpful with, and so it's hard for you to even remind people of this is why. If people are happy with some of the policies that we have, it's thanks to a party that actually has never been elected to power.
Well, Kate, look, the NDP needs to rebound for the NDP's own reasons, but the Conservatives really need them to rebound because it helps you with the vote splits and moves a lot of the vote back from the Liberals, because a lot of that is people who voted NDP in the past.
We're just asking for 7% more.
Well,
that's it.
Well, okay, that's where I wanted to go, because right now on the poll tracker, which is an aggregate, they're at 8.7%, projected to win 5 seats. Now, I think they'll actually do better than 5. Typically. I don't know how much better, though. I don't know if they get to 12 at this point. I mean, where does the Conservatives need to see the NDP by the final week of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, what I would just observe with the polling, and we saw this happen in Ontario, the NDP, through voter efficiency in Ontario, did manage to really pull off...
Third in votes, second in seats.
What people thought was not going to happen or be possible. So I think that the NDP has always sort of had to campaign like this. They've always had to campaign on a bit of a shoestring budget. They've always had to campaign with voter efficiency in mind and really bring it back to their target seats. I think, though, there were numerous outs for Singh along the way to take advantage of timing, take advantage of a better polling position. He didn't jump at any of those opportunities, and I think there was at least half a dozen or more, even since he had ripped up the supply and confidence agreement to get there. So, I think the angle for the NDP, though, I do not advise them, would be to appeal to principle. Mark Carney is not somebody that has ever fought on the side of progressives. He's somebody that has always been on the side of big employers. He's not somebody that has fought for workers. And he has these business conflicts that raise more questions than they do answers. So for true progressives that are looking for an option to hold a government to account, I would think that there's an angle there for Mr. Singh to expose and talk about his progressive bona fides, especially considering Mark Carney is positioning himself to be more of a centrist option in this campaign.
Michelle, what do you think? What the NDP are facing and what the NDP might need to do here?
Yeah, I disagree with Kate in terms of probably because we come from different perspectives, but it's a very tough position for the NDP to come in, and I've just been thinking about how I would advise them. I would very much retrench into trying to hold the seats that we have, put all of the resources. $30 million can go a lot of ways in 25, 30 seats, and really just try and focus much more on the local representation. And I don't know that actually in this environment, going after Mark Carney, the Prime Minister right now, is going to be in a favor of one of the third parties. Because I think that there is a real view from Canadians that they want to have a strong Prime Minister to go up against Donald Trump. And I'm not sure that they're doing themselves a service if they were to be going so laser focused on Mark Carney and giving Pierre Poilievre a little bit of a pass or something like that. I do think that, it seems that Mr. Singh is moving away from the suggestion that he's going to form a government and getting to much more realistic. And now it's about not just trying, I don't know that suggesting that you want to have like a balance of power or anything like that. But again, I think it's about that local representation and ensuring that there's a continued voice through those local those MPs who have the experience of being in Parliament before is probably their best bet at the most seats.
Right.
They're not quite as efficient vote-wise as they are provincially in Ontario on a national basis. But that's what I would be just so laser focused on right now.
You got a quick thought there, Kate?
I'm not surprised that Michelle would say the NDP should not attack the Liberals. From the Liberal strategies, that very much makes sense. But if they can't create contrast real contrast with Mark Carney, and they couldn't create it with Justin Trudeau.
They got the blue-orange fights too, though, right? Especially in BC,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And I don't even disagree with the strategy of making sure you have a really locally focused campaign, but they've got to draw some contrast on Carney's ties to big business, not focusing on workers' needs. That's, to me, the only path they can take that is authentic, that kind of separates them and distinguishes them from the Liberals.
Yeah, I think Michelle's advice is keep sliding Jagmeet, right? You want him to go down another 5 points?
Pierre Poilievre's problem of being the consummate attack dog, if he could engage Mr. Singh for that.